Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we also have Bridgette. Hello, Bridgette.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yep.
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use, and thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, it's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. Right, Ben?
Yes, sirree.
Right, Bridgette?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, here we are. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
You need to speak up a little bit, Ben.
I do?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being loud.
Do you?
Yeah, I guess internally. I'm excited.
All right. So I'm going to do a brief introduction. I'm excited for this one. And this is kind of a impromptu. Is that the right word?
Definitely.
Yeah. So Bridgette here is actually been a listener of the podcast for about how long would you say?
A little over a year.
Yeah. And so Bridgette reached out a while ago and needed some help for her son. And, I mean, we're going to get into the details of it, but for the sake of the intro portion, we had the opportunity of working with him. And if memory serves me correct, he's coming up on a year now in January, right? January what?
25th.
Yep.
Let me say this. I just watched Tristan speak at my home group, and he killed it. To see how far he's come is just, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to get into those details. I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse, but honestly, this is probably one of my favorite journeys to have watched, without a doubt, from both sides, both from Bridgette's side and from Tristan's side.
Yeah. Yeah, so Bridgette was in town visiting and popped in yesterday to drop us off Christmas gifts. Thank you. And said, well, what the heck? You're here. Let's podcast. And she says, okay. Yeah. So, all right, let's just get right into it. And listen, it's casual conversation. There's nothing scripted. It's, we'll see where things go. We'll steer it whatever way we see fit. Let's just jump right into it. Talk a little bit about yourself. Your journey with Tristan, and for the listeners, Tristan actually came on the podcast. I don't know which episode number, Ben. Maybe you can look that up and we can refer to it.
Maybe it was 10 or 15 episodes ago, I would guess.
Why don't you pull it up on the podcast app, and then we'll announce it later on. So you can always go back and listen to that episode, or you could watch it on YouTube. And while you're on there, subscribe. That'd be great. Bridgette, are you subscribed to our YouTube channel?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and, what your journey looked like with Tristan, and we'll go from there.
I'm just a mom. Tristan is my youngest. And let's see, it started maybe when he was a freshman in high school. Just loved sports. He loved sports, football, basketball, lacrosse, baseball, anything. And, he was just always friendly and, loving, and just had a bunch of friends. And then it started, I think around freshman or sophomore year, started noticing he just literally changed his friend group to just all of a sudden a bunch of different kids. Loved them. They were good kids. Just for some reason, he switched to different friends. And those kids a lot of them weren't in his sports and his other, he had two group of friends and stuff. But we didn't think much of it. Then his grades started slipping, and we thought, well, it's COVID, because it was right around COVID time. And just regular, normal teen stuff. That's what we thought it was, my husband and I. And he started really acting out his sophomore and his junior and senior year were pretty bad. I had no idea it was drugs. I would catch him smoking pot here and there, stealing some liquor. I thought, it's just nothing. And then it just got really bad. He wouldn't come home. skip out on school, or I'd, really try and nail him down to do his schoolwork, but he never missed practice. He was always there for practice and all that. But I thought maybe it's depression, maybe it's anxiety. I remember him even asking for me to take him to the doctor so he can get a prescription for Xanax. I'm like, how the heck do you know what Xanax is? One time he was out, a couple times, didn't know where he was. He'd come home, obliterated, and I had no idea. I thought maybe he was just like going through a mental lapse or something. I had no idea it was drugs. And then I remember searching his room and finding like a baggie of pills, finding his pot, throwing it away, thinking it was nothing. Like, not nothing, but just, we can control, this will be fine. We can control this. Mm-hmm. We can figure this out. Started losing a lot of weight, and just continued down that path to the point where my life was controlled by his actions, just trying to watch everything he did. Maybe it's because I divorced his dad, so I thought maybe he's going through some things. Let's get him into counseling. Got him into counseling. Would get better for a little bit. Just then COVID hit, and it was just, he was sleeping all the time. But every other parent that I talked to, all their kids were sleeping and not going to class. And, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. And just never dawned on me that it was ever pills. I just figured it was pot and some booze. So it just kind of spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. And he would sneak out of his room. So we installed cameras, thinking that's going to stop him. He's going to stop with the cameras. We had them, 3 of them. And sure enough, I would wake up at 2 a.m. just to make sure, I'd scroll on my phone, check the activity. Okay, he must be sleeping. He's fine. He's good. I did that for months, probably a year. I'm going to start testing him then, because the cameras didn't seem like it was doing not working the way I wanted it to work. So I would buy jumbo packs of drug tests and make him do tests. Figured out he was probably either watering down the pee, which I didn't know he could do, but I would test him and, oh, he's fine. So he can go out, even though he looked, now I look back and I'm like, oh my word, he was so wasted that one time, or just, it was crazy the stuff. He would look at me in the eye. I'm fine. Mom, you're going to test me? Okay, fine. Test me. Oh, I can't pee right now. We'd wait an hour. He would drink 3 bottles of water because I thought he couldn't go. And just he pulled every trick you can think of.
So what's going on in your head during all this? You installed the cameras. I mean, you're drug testing him all the time. Did you, looking back on it, hindsight's 2020, did you legitimately think, okay, I can control this? Like, this is something that I can do?
Yeah. I thought once he matured, it's going to stop. He's going to, no, drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. I would, get him self-help books, quotes, anything. He'd be like, oh, I just want to do my music. He's one of those kids, he's going to do music instead of, he wanted to produce or anything, so he would ask for a microphone, and I went the route of buying him pretty much anything he wanted, thinking that's going to turn his mind away, and he's going to, he would convince me that's what he needed too.
Right.
Sneakers.
The details are a little different, but I just want to throw it out there to ease any parent's mind that's listening. Like, my mom did the same thing that Bridgette did. Some of the details are different, but she's talking about, got him whatever he wanted. My mom did the same thing. One time she rearranged my whole room, painted it.
Yep.
Put up all this surfing stuff, thinking if I had a different room and different, I don't know, it was cleaned up, my surroundings would change me, or, helping me get a car and stuff along those lines. His self-esteem will be better if he has a nicer car, etc. So none of that stuff is out of the norm. I just want to throw that out there.
Right. None of it.
I have a quick question too. You had mentioned a minute ago he asked you about getting a prescription of Xanax from a doctor. Can you go a little more detail? Like, what did he say? What did he say the reason was? Did he end up getting it?
I remember he came in my room. Well, he texted me, Mom, I need to talk with you. I'm like, oh no, what's he going to tell me? He's depressed, or I was always worried about a mental illness. Like maybe it's something like bipolar, not just the way I just wanted to get a handle of whatever it was. But he came into my room and he sat down in my chairs and he's like, I have anxiety, social anxiety, and I think I need medicine. And I heard Xanax helps. And I was like, Tris, you can't just get Xanax. I'm not taking you to the doctor for Xanax. And I said, I think maybe you might want to try an antidepressant first and stuff. And I didn't really even believe that he was anxious. He could talk to anybody. He very charismatic. He was captain of the football team. He just friends all over the place. And he just, to me, I was like, I don't know if he's, legit has a problem with anxiety. So we did go to the doctor and he got his prescription for just another antidepressant. And ended up he was taking it but not taking it, that whole route, and
didn't have the effect he was looking for.
No, exactly not.
Yeah.
No.
I did the same thing.
Yeah. And I knew Xanax was not something he should have. It's just, but he did one time his, I don't know if a friend gave it to him or I knew he was tripping off of it or whatever they call it. And because my stepdaughter's like, so-and-so gave him Xanax. They just told me. And I'm like, all right, thinking it was just a phase. Okay, we'll get through this. Don't do that again. Don't do that. No, I won't do that. And then in one of his episodes, he told me everything he did. And he was just so high. I remember sitting up with him couple nights, like many nights, through those episodes of him just being off his face and, Mom, I've done this, I've done that, I've done MDMA, all those. And I'm just like, I wonder if he's really telling me the truth. And then thinking maybe he wasn't because he was so high he doesn't remember. Maybe he's just hallucinating, and many nights like that.
So looking back on it now, I mean, is that something, the signs were there, what do you attribute to, because I remember going back, one of our very first conversations, and there obviously was a process that led up to, him entering into treatment the first time, which we'll get into. But in terms of the details prior to that, what do you think it was that made you not see it?
I didn't want to believe it, maybe.
Yeah. Like denial in a way?
Maybe. I did not even know. I didn't believe that addiction was a disease. I was raised that it was for losers and,
Interesting. Dig into that a little bit.
I was raised very religious, very strict religion, and it was a weakness. And don't do drugs. It's for losers. Oh, look at that loser over there.
Like legit, like they were called losers?
Just, yeah. It was very...
Wow.
Yeah. Big stigma about, they do drugs. They're just,
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't want no part of them.
Yeah.
And so you grew up in that? In that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so you feel like whenever it was on your doorstep, it was, well, Tristan's not a loser, so he can't actually be a drug addict.
Right. No, he's not a drug addict. There's, or he's going to stop. He's going to stop this. Like, he saw me deal with his brothers. Brother's friends smoked in the house. I'd kick him out. I'd break up parties. I'd, tell their parents he smoked this. So, I just did not want smoking in the house, pot. And I thought Tristan saw that. I thought he knew,
Did you have anybody in your life at that point in time that you would consult with or talk to that would say, no, Bridgette, he may be a drug addict?
No.
Why? Like, why do you feel like Do you think that you didn't bring it up or you didn't talk to people because you didn't believe it, so it's really not necessary to bring it up, or I don't want to draw attention to this, or maybe a little bit of both?
I was ashamed. I was blaming myself. I remember the one after so many episodes of him just, not coming home. One night we didn't even know where he was. Would come, walking in from walking around for night and then the next night. And then finally my husband was like, Tris, do you think you need rehab? And I was like, what? Why would you ask him that? He's not going to rehab, thinking rehab is for those
losers.
Yeah. So hooked on, and Tristan's like, yeah, I want to go to rehab. And I was like, you're not going to rehab. Like, you're fine. You're going to get through this. And that's when, there was a couple ER visits that I would take him because I was worried he took too many Xanax. I couldn't wake him up. And through those visits, I remember one of the, the emergency room addictions counselor came out and said, I thought they were going to tell me he was like severely mentally ill. And he came out and he's like, I'm pretty sure this is an addiction problem. And I didn't believe him. I was like, what? Okay, cool. We'll get, it'll be easy. Like, that's easy. And I still had no idea that it was going to be that hard or that he could get through this.
This is case in point that addiction doesn't discriminate.
Oh, no.
Like, we've known you long enough to know that you probably have a very good home, and it was probably a very good environment for a child to grow up in. Point blank, period. Like, I couldn't see it any other way, knowing you. And the fact that he's captain of the football team, raised under your roof, it doesn't discriminate. There's so many stories of clients that come through here that have picture perfect families, white picket fence, the dog, you name it. And, I think a lot of people prior to are under the impression, like you were saying, going back to the losers thing, like drug addicts come from broken homes. And they do, but they also come from perfectly well put together homes too. And our therapist will jump on the train real quick and say, oh, every family has some sort of trauma somewhere. But, when you dive deeper, like every family has its skeletons. I don't care how picture perfect it looks on the outside. But again, my point is it doesn't discriminate. Mom didn't do anything wrong to end up with a child who has addiction.
I finally accept that. In the beginning, I didn't. I've never even smoked pot. I've never.
Really?
Yeah. It's just I was raised, it was bad. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. It's really, really bad for you. And I mean,
what about drinking?
I think I've been drunk maybe once or twice, and that's like tipsy. It's not like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm just not.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of, and this isn't a dumb question, but it's kind of a dumb question. Do you regret that for any reason, that like you were raised in this religious household, that people that obviously smoked pot and drank and were addicts and stuff were losers? Do you ever look at that and be like, I wonder what, I missed out on or anything like that?
There's two sides of that. There's times I feel I did miss out on a lot of fun with friends or just getting together for a drink. And then there's the other side that it was also protection in a way. I felt there was a lot of heartache maybe I missed out on, or things that, not missed out on, or just like wasn't party to. Like, it did.
You might have been spared
yes.
You could have been spared who knows? Because I mean, you could have been sitting in Tristan's seat,
right?
You just don't know. But I mean, that's interesting that you don't meet many people. My wife is kind of in the same way. I think she had her little stints in college and stuff, but I mean, if she drinks once or twice a year at this point, and every time she does, she's always like, are you okay if I, have a high noon? And I'm like, go ahead, please. Honestly, I want you to, well, that's interesting. So your head was in the sand, I think is the best way to put it.
You asked me to look it up earlier. Tristan's podcast was episode 305.
Okay.
And a lot of what you're saying, granted, hearing it from your perspective and his, like it all aligns from what I can recall.
Yeah, so let's fast forward to maybe when you pluck your head out the sand. And this is real.
Did you pluck your head out the sand, or did it get
Eventually.
yanked out of the sand?
Or did somebody pluck it out for you?
Oh, I think Parents Weekend plucked it out for me. Maya, the presentation you guys did at Parents Weekend, completely blew my mind.
Cool.
So, go ahead.
On Tristan's episode, you had talked about the phone calls with you and Bridgette. And
That's where I wanted to go.
I'd like to hear Bridgette's version of it, because
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so he went to Recovery Centers of America. Excellent, wonderful place.
And this is after he
Literally,
said he wanted to go to rehab.
Yeah, he's like, I need it.
And you were like, no, you don't need it, but he went anyway.
And he called whoever he met at the emergency room that one visit, and he's like, okay, I called. He gave all the all the info, and he's like, okay, I'm leaving tonight. And I was like, what? You can't, was just totally blown away. And I'm like, you're going for how long? Like, and little part of me was like, oh, thank God, I can get a little break, because
Which is natural.
Right.
Yeah.
I tried everything. I was starting to stay. My husband and I were trying to think of everything. Bridge, maybe if you stay up a little later at night, because I was able to come home earlier than my husband from work, and I could take a little nap. Then you could stay up later, and I'll do the night shift, and my husband did the morning shift. And we have 3 other children in the house and running a business, and so we tried that, and I can't do night. I'm a mess. But anyway, there was so many things. So I was like, oh my word. Okay, get him there. So we went, and I remember a friend had said to us, who was actually in the same recovery center, said, he's safe. Just keep telling yourself he's safe. And that helped eventually. And sure enough, came out, I thought 30 days was it. I thought he was going to be great, woohoo. Went to some IOP for 3 months and did that a little bit.
Was that the SOBA?
No, that was the second time. That was IOP was Freedom House.
Okay.
And he did that for about 3 months and hated it. He hated it. And then switched to something at a 2-day a week or something, and just went back to school. And
he was living with you, attending an IOP, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
IOP stands for intensive outpatient, for anyone that doesn't know. So living at home with mom and dad, and attending X amount of hours a group, and then going back home at night.
And the school took him, the high school said, okay, he needs this to graduate. He decided to play lacrosse, went right back to normal.
So he went to treatment the first time when he was in high school?
Senior year.
Okay. And so he gets out of high school, or he goes to treatment, does the 3 months of sober living, hates it, moves in with you, back in with you.
No, he moved in. He came home after 30 days and did the sober, a sober program or something.
So there was no housing.
No, he stayed with us.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now too, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. If he was in high school, was he was in an adolescent program? 18, under 18, 17 and under?
No, I think they were older too.
Yeah, he could have been 18. Senior.
Oh, it was his senior year? Okay.
Yeah, he turned 18 in October, so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in my head of when we spoke the very first time.
July.
When was that?
I think he went back to, he relapsed in July, got him back into the RCA program. And I think I tried everything. I tried books. I tried reading what the heck am I doing wrong and all this kind of stuff. I had no idea about Al-Anon or any of that. Started listening to your program, just found it, just Googled recovery. And your podcast came up, and I just started listening to it nonstop. And I remember telling my husband, I'm like, I really like these 2 guys. They're very just regular two Joes,
2 meatheads.
Yeah.
Couple bozos on the bus. Yeah.
And and then he went to after his second stint in RCA, he went to a sober living, and that's when I contacted you. I'm like, he's coming home.
That was SOBA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, we had a convo, and you're like, all right, I give him 2 weeks, and I was really mad at you.
I was standing in the room when he said that, and that's what I love about listening to Tom on the phone. Tom, when he talks to parents on the phone, he straight up tells them like it is.
Mm-hmm.
And 99.999% of the time, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost hung up. I was like, no
How
faith.
dare he?
Yeah. How dare he say that, And because because you asked, like, well, what does he have set up? And I was like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, even I hate to say, they didn't give us a plan. They didn't sit down with us what did I know? I just thought, okay, he'll go to a couple meetings or, he had some friends and stuff. And I thought that would be good. And, I got all the liquor out of the house and, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to not give him money anymore. So, he had a little job and he was playing lacrosse. So when he asked for $40 here and there, I just would, yeah, here, go ahead. I didn't know. So it just started going. And sure enough, I'm pretty sure it was like 2 weeks after he signed up for school and he did electrical something. Mm-hmm. And we thought that would keep him busy and he got a job. And he would text every once in a while that he was not feeling good at school. And Mom, I'm throwing up. And I'm like, okay, just some weird behaviors we started noticing again. And I'm like, no, there's no way. No way he's using again. And then I remember the day before, and I was texting you and listening to the program, and you would check in every once in a while, like, how's he doing? I'm like, he's doing great. Like, he's doing really good.
I was going to bring that up, yeah. I remember texting you a few times and hey, just checking in on, because I kind of was just waiting, for the other shoe to drop. And yeah, you would always say, yeah, he's doing good, going to meetings. I think maybe he had met a friend or something too that he was going to meetings with. Yep. And yeah.
And you had, I don't know if it made me feel content, but you had said, let's just get it ready. Like, you set up the visit to come here. You said, let's just check the insurance or check some things and make sure, if you're kind of like, if and when he probably will relapse, like, he has a spot here. And it just really put me at ease. Like, okay, I have the next. But he's not gonna, he's good. He's good.
I think there's a lot to, and we don't need to spend much time on this, but Ben, you always reference like Mama Bear and wanting to be able to fix and control, and which ultimately what it does a lot of times is it exacerbates the problem. And, a lot of times moms and dads, but more often than not, it's moms, they end up burying their head in the sand and are oblivious to, and won't even hear, things that have gone and experienced, has had the experiences. Like, Bridgette, I'm telling you, this is how this is going to work. And then for whatever reason, and not just you, most moms out there, oh, this can't happen to me, and I want to stress that if that is you, if you are in a position to where you think that you have control over this, you're dead wrong. And obviously I'll let you speak into that, but so we set up got all the stars aligned per se for when something needed to happen. And fast forward to, I don't know what day of the week it was, but I distinctly remember waking up in the morning at 7:00 and I had this text from you.
Just to rewind a little bit, the day before I had just sensed something from him, and I had texted him and I said, I don't know, I feel, are you okay? You don't go to meetings anymore. What's going on? And he's like, I'll come down and talk to you. And he came downstairs. It was the morning time and looked me straight in the face. Mom, drugs are down here. I'm up here. I will never go back down there again. No way. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You sure? And he's like, I feel great. Okay. Let him have the car, go see, go hang out with your friends. I was sure. I remember even him smiling a certain smile, and I was like, yeah, he's good. And I remember texting my friend and being like, I have my Tristan back. Like, he's doing amazing. And then sure enough, that night, it was like 1:30 in the morning. he texted me, "Oh, Mom, I'm taking so and so to a meeting. Blah blah blah. We're gonna go to the diner." I was like, "Okay, great."
At 1:30 in the morning.
Oh no, that was a little earlier, but
okay. Yeah.
around 10 or something, and I think it was 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I like just woke up for some reason, grabbed my phone, and I saw a Snapchat, his story, and the people he was with. I was like, "Uh-oh," I know they both used, and I was like, "What is he doing with them?" And I was like, "Oh, just go back to bed. Maybe everything's fine. It's fine. Try not to worry." And I had noticed under the door of my bedroom, because my room was dark, that there was a light on in the hallway. And I was like, I wonder if maybe he fell asleep with the light on, or just bothered me. And I kept telling myself, don't get up. Stop being, just relax. He's fine. He's fine. I was like, I'm just going to check. And sure enough, I got up, went into his room. I could smell the weed immediately. And I was just like, oh, Tris, like, again? And he didn't move. And I went up to him, I'm like, Tris. And I went to shake him, and he was cold. And when I shook him, he was on the floor, sitting, like, leaning against a chair or something like that. And I shook him, and he just, like, flew back because I had shook him. There was nothing to, like, he was already, like, foaming at the mouth. And I just screamed and, screamed for my husband to wake up, and called 911. And, it was just, I just held him in my arms and called, spoke to 911, and his lips were blue. I was like, this is it. My kid's dead. Like, just, he's dead. Like, I felt he was just, in my arms, like, all my worst nightmares, just.
Yeah.
And that's what I always, drugs kill, right. And that's just, here we go. And then the emergency squad got to the house, and, my stepdaughter, my youngest, was home. She, of course, heard it. And they gave him Narcan. Nothing worked. And literally put him in like this back, because you can't carry a stretcher up the steps. So they carried him down the steps. And me and my daughter just stood there. And we were just, I couldn't cry. It didn't dawn on me, how bad it was. But thinking it was bad, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Followed him to the emergency room, and they wouldn't let us back right away. I had to, like, push my way in, and they tried holding me back, and I was like, no, it's my son. Like, I want to.
Yeah.
Come on, he's fine. And I remember the nurse coming up to me, handing me his clothes. She's like, we had to rip him off, cut him off, but here are his clothes. And she just bawled. She just kept crying. And I was like, what's the matter? What's the matter?
The lady at the hospital?
The nurse at the hospital. That was his nurse, just crying. And the doctor was like, we're transferring him immediately and getting him out of here. And I was like, okay. And he's like, it doesn't look good. I was like, what doesn't look good? Like, what do you mean? And I guess because he aspirated, then he started seizing. They couldn't get any type of whatever.
Motor function, anything, yeah.
His heart was good, but everything else was, like, shot. So went to the other hospital, ICU immediately, and within the hour, one of the neurosurgeons or neuro doctors came out and said, I give him an hour, and if he doesn't respond in an hour, you're going to have to make a decision. And I was like, what decision? I don't understand. Are you telling me he's going to die? And the doctor's like, I give him an hour. Like, he's bad. And he had, like, double pneumonia. It was just a mess. And they put a breathing tube and everything. I didn't feel like he was going to die. I just didn't. But so it was touch and go for a couple days. And fortunately, within that hour, he responded a little bit. And every hour he got better. He's young. He's healthy. Otherwise than being a drug addict. But, yep, it was...
I mean, it's, you never want to, even having the conversation here, it's like, ugh, it makes me sick. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember getting that.
Yeah, I texted
the text in the morning.
Yep.
I think the text was something along the lines of he overdosed, and we're in ICU, not sure if he's going to make it, but if he does, we need to get him to Florida.
Yep.
And
which I didn't even know. I kind of knew you were in Florida, but he didn't.
You didn't know we were in Florida?
No.
Oh.
I'm so glad though. I was like,
Yeah.
could you imagine if you were like in, Minnesota? It just reminds me of being so cold. Like,
Yeah.
me and my kids, we always laugh. We're like, thank God it's in West Palm and not like Minnesota.
Yeah.
But
So how long was he? He was in ICU for a few days anyway.
yeah, he finally was breathing better, and they took him off all the stuff, and they just said we're not sure if we have to put him back on. It was just touch and go for a while. It was like a good 4 or 5 days in the ICU. So
When did you have the okay? This is I don't have control over this. Do you think this was? Did you start coming to that realization more in the hospital?
Yeah, I think once I text you, I remember telling my husband, I was like, I'm getting him out of the state. That's what Tom and Ben say. It's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Get him out of Jersey. Just get him out of his friends, he knows. And I'm like, he's going. And my husband's like, where's Rock? And I'm like, I don't know. I got to figure it out, but
It's not here.
it's not here. So
Yeah.
that was our plan.
Yeah, and I remember he went. So yeah, he ended up coming down, and I can't remember where he went. I think he went to Intrepid Detox.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
And it was a little scary. I was dropping him, as soon as I got okay that he was able to leave the hospital, and that was a crazy. He had memory loss, so every 3 minutes or 2 minutes he would ask the same 5 questions over and over and over again, and then he would stop, and then again he would ask the same questions, and I didn't leave his side. They made me leave the hospital just to get some rest, but it was quite a week. And I said, as soon as he's medically cleared, is it okay to bring him down? And you guys said, yeah, send him to Intrepid. And when I pulled up to Intrepid, it wasn't like this place. It was just, to me, it looked a little sketch, but I've never been there.
Yeah.
But I remember texting you guys, like, would you send your kids here? And you were like, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
it made me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have the curb appeal.
It's a different level of care
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It comes back
Amazing.
to, especially after an overdose like that 24/7 medical care. They are locked down. You don't want them up walking around, moving around, doing
was
that stuff
terrified.
anyway.
Yeah,
You
they were
know, and-
amazing. They called, texted me, whatever I needed. They were just amazing. I was worried about the pneumonia and his memory loss. He's not going to remember where he put his toothbrush. Like, he's just not that short term really, scared me, but they were amazing there.
I remember when he got to us, and I distinctly remember seeing him get off the van, and I introduced myself to him, and I could tell he was a super nice kid. And he was very open about the fact that I think he even said something to the tune of, if I repeat myself a lot, it's because I don't remember what I just said. And, yeah, my dad, I think I told him, I said, oh, don't worry about that, because my dad had a stroke like 6 months prior, and I was dealing with that, and I still deal with that with my dad, and, but, I got the sense from him that he was a good kid, but there was also a piece of him that was still skeptical, of this whole thing. And I don't want to make this podcast about the improvements that he has had, because the proof is in the pudding. If you want to hear that, go to episode 305 and listen to it.
I'll just sum it up. He's a freaking miracle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And where he stepped in here mentally with, I don't even think that he was fully willing to get sober I'll just say it. He wasn't
No.
willing to get sober when he got here, but something magically changed in him, and he became willing and did work. And
Yeah.
he is a stand-up member in the recovery community today. Like, that's why I mentioned earlier when he spoke at my home group, like, he is sponsoring guys and carrying the message, and he is really bought in.
And I think it's worth mentioning he was at the time 19, I think.
19. That's why I just, 19. And but I knew I remember talking to one of his friends like, "Oh yeah, I've overdosed." I'm like, "What?" Like I didn't know overdosing was that you could, keep doing it. Like I didn't know, just
I mean, we've seen people overdose 2-3 times in one day.
Keep doing it till you don't. But there's also the stories of the people that their first time they don't make it.
They don't make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'll say this too, real quick. I think a lot of it has to do with the change in his willingness. He also found a sponsor that is very close to his age, who has multiple years in recovery, and
who is his sponsor?
Dylan. I don't want to say his last name.
No. Yeah, I don't want you to. I couldn't remember who it was.
I haven't met him yet, but
amazing young man, and like. Knowing Dylan, I can see why that magic was there because Tristan was able to say, "Hey man, this guy's just like me." Young kid he's really bought in, and recovery's cool.
Yes.
Like it is. Dylan made recovery look cool.
I normalized it.
Yeah.
Totally normalized it.
Yeah. What you need to do for a 19-year-old kid.
Oh, definitely.
You know, I mean, it's, I remember at 26, I'm like, what the, golly, what are you talking about? I can't drink, I'm 26.
Okay, Norm.
And then it's, I got around people that normalized it. They're like, no, you can have fun. You can do these things. But, Bridgette, I want to focus more on you. Your growth through this process, because we're coming up on a year, so you've had your own recovery in this journey. What does that look like for you? I mean, we knew your head was in the sand. It's obviously not now. Ben and I will take some credit for that, but you get the majority of it, of course.
Earlier you mentioned, and you didn't dive into it, you said a very pivotal moment for you was family weekend.
Absolutely.
Can you give us more details? You mentioned Maya briefly, but we didn't hear much more than that.
Well, we got the invite to do, so he was here in February, and I believe Parents Weekend was like early March. And so we attended, and I had no expectations. I just thought it was different because I've never been to one. When he was in the other facilities, it was COVID. And they just didn't have them, I guess. But anyway, we came, and towards the tail, it was just an amazing opportunity. So if anybody gets to do it, I would love to do it again. It was just awesome. But towards the end of I think it's a 2-day, and towards the end, Maya had Al-Anon members show up, and I'm like, what the heck is Al-Anon? Like, I had no idea. And I remember raising my hand and saying, I don't understand. So do I go to AA meetings then, like, with him, or is, like, how do I know which AA meeting I can go to? Because I thought they were just abbreviating Alcoholics Anonymous, and some people didn't want to say the whole thing, so they would say Al-Anon or AA. And this nice lady was like, "Oh, it's for us. It's explain the whole thing. We could do steps." I'm like, "What steps do we do?" And she's like, "Same steps." And I'm like, "What the hell are the steps?" I knew what steps were, but I didn't know at all anything. And whatever that lady, and a lot of us moms and other people were like, I want whatever is making that woman smile, because she was just super.
Do you remember who it was?
Maya might. She was an older lady.
Oh, it was Nicole's sponsor, I believe.
She was just
amazing. Ask this, because I'm not sure if I heard it right or not earlier, but you had mentioned you didn't believe addiction was a disease. But I think I heard you did after family weekend, or what did that look like? Like, and it even a month after Tristan being here, you still didn't believe that. So what did you believe that first 30 days he was here up until?
Maya explained it really well. She had said one other sentence. She's like, your loved ones, your addicts, haven't done anything different than everyone in this room, but we've picked up. We've all picked up. We've all drank. We've all maybe experimented. They just have something in their chemical makeup that they are either allergic to or something, and explained that it was a disease. And I just did a lot more research on it. And she had displays and everything. And it just blew my mind. Like, I just had no idea that it was a disease. And then I had to accept that my son has a disease was that I can't help with. That hurts too. Like, it hurts a mom that you can't, I don't know, if he had diabetes, I could get him all the stuff. I don't, it was very difficult to understand that it's a disease. And once I did, I could wrap my head around, like, okay, let's do all this. But I didn't know that, like, I had a big part of, not the reason why, but I had my own disease in a way. And you had said it on many podcasts too, like, my parent, like, I wanted to call so many times. Is he going to meetings? Is he doing this? Is he taking care of himself? Because he was dead set against not even going to the gym. He's like, I'm not going to become a meathead mom. And I was like, I don't care, Tristan. Like, you're, and you had made the comment, one of you said, parents who call and say, well, is he doing this and this? And you ask them, like, well, what are you guys doing?
Right.
And I'm like, well, we're just sitting at home and, working. And so I looked up my local Al-Anon, and I went, and I remember being at the first meeting, not understanding it. It was a nice little group and stuff, but giving I just raised my hand and shared a little synopsis of what I was there for. And I'm just crying and crying, and the room got quiet, and the one member just said, just keep coming back. And I'm like, that's it. Like, I was, I went home. I'm like, I'm not going again. Like, what does she mean? Please just keep coming back. And they read those bylines or laws in the beginning, and they said, go to 5 meetings in a month. And I was like, all right. So I found another meeting. Well, one of the members recommended Nar-Anon. So I tried that too, and was blown away by how many moms like me and dad were in that group. And this group was about 25 of us, and a lot of mom and dads, a lot of, couples and families were there. And it was just, I immediately just felt so much better about this whole process, and just diving into the books, and they have their own literature and the steps. And it took a while, like, I think finally now, because I have my own sponsor too. And
nice.
Yeah, I feel like myself again. And even like looking at Tristan, he's so different. Like, I haven't parented him being clean and sober in about 5 years, like, this is my first time, like, seeing him so clear-headed. So it's like a new, just new. It's just, I don't even know how to do that without being like all hovering over him.
I like to draw the correlation too. The same way that Tristan or myself or Tom was trying to control our own personal drug addiction, it corresponds to Tristan was your drug of choice. Mm-hmm. How much time, energy, resources did you spend trying to control him or his addiction? The cameras, the dad, you play day shift, I'll play night shift. Just go home a little earlier. Just stay up a little later. Tristan was literally doing the same things to get his drugs. You're doing the same thing to try to keep him away from drugs. It's literally the same behavior. Right. And it's really important to draw that correlation because both are unhealthy.
Oh, yeah. And I remember the first time he was here, Nicole had sent out an email, all this information, and that was tremendous. And talking with her, she's very calm and listens, and she, in all the literature, it said, maybe speak to a therapist. So I got my own therapist, and I don't know, just doing my own work. And my therapist brought out that she's like, oh, I think there's codependency going on here. And I was like, I know Tristan's codependent on me. And she's like, no, I think you're codependent on him. And it was just, I was like, no, I fought that too. I just was like, no, I'm not,
Can I ask you a question that might be a tough one?
Sure.
As far as like a traumatic experience of holding Tristan in your arms when he was overdosed, have you had a hard time working through that? Was it easy for you? Do you have nightmares about it?
Or have you worked through it at all?
Yeah. What's that look like?
Yeah. Finally, going to the therapy, and my therapist was like, okay, let's figure it, because I was getting nightmares. I didn't want to think about it. In fact, when he was here the first month, I think I woke my husband up numerous times, like, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow. I'm going to go get him. Like, and my husband would be like, all right, I'll look tomorrow morning. And then the morning would come and he'd be like, let's just talk about it. And so many of those, I got to be there next to him. And so my therapist finally had me write down everything I remember from that night in sequence. And I put it off. I even canceled the appointment because I did not want to do it. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So finally the appointment came up and she's like, don't forget your homework. So I wrote down she's like, I want minute by minute what happened, how you felt, everything. And it was like 3 or 4 pages. And I did it in the parking lot at the office before my appointment. I walked in and I just like gave it to her and went through our little session. And then she's like, all right, so you ready to read it? And I was like, I am not reading that. Like, I just wrote it. I don't want to, no way. She's like, okay, I'm just going to hold on to it and I'll read it later. I was like, all right. And ever since then, I don't have a bad dream about it. I barely think about it, barely. Where before it was daily, I was, so consumed by it. And not only being consumed by the trauma of worrying about him, but just being consumed about like the shame, or people in my neighborhood know what happened. And I'm going to walk through the grocery store. People are going to be like, or people won't say anything and just, oh, poor kid, poor family, Tristan, poor Tristan. And I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to go anywhere. And it was hard to enjoy like the things I did. Like my hobbies, I love gardening and, other little things. I just couldn't do all those things. And then through therapy and kind of giving Tristan a little bit of tough love, because he did call, I think it was like about 3 months in, 4 months, 5, something like that. And he was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. And I said, well, you need to find a reason, because don't do it for me. And he said, I said, your other choice is either you do it or it's homelessness. Like, you're going to be homeless because I'm not taking you back. And and that was from Nicole. Like, she like guided me, like, you have to, just take back your life. And my therapist too. And she was just self-care. And self-care to me was like spending time with my kids. And she kind of taught me, self-care is doing your hobbies without feeling guilty, or, just learning to love yourself again. And so that was, and it's my recovery. I don't go to therapy now for Tristan. I go for myself. I don't go to Al-Anon for Tristan. I go for myself. And, his recovery's over there and mine's over here. And, he actually taught me that too, because one of his good friends, or one of our employees that we hired through one of his other groups, his recovery centers, he overdosed, or he relapsed. And I was like, oh, I'm so worried about him, Tristan. I think I'm going to go like pick him up, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Mom, stop. You can't recover for him.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it's really,
yeah.
I'm that type of person. I just want to take them all in. And
at 54 minutes, there's your YouTube short. What she just said was like a mic drop. That whole thing right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to cut that out.
Man.
Cut it, keep it in, but cut it out. Like, clip it and make it into a short.
That was powerful, what you just said.
Yeah, he learned it from here.
You said you talked about your recovery being separate from his. And you're someone that came into this not even knowing that you needed recovery.
No.
He needs to recover.
He does, yeah. He's got to figure, but I'm going to figure it out for him,
Yeah, that's the most strange part is, he needs to figure all this stuff out, but he can't, so I'll do it for him. You and my wife are very similar, I feel like you'll put out and just pour into other people and always be there for other people. And it's interesting that you said that you feel like that's self-care, when in actuality, no, it's not,
right.
And it takes away from you. It takes away from my wife. I tell her the same thing, and I think it's a mother thing. I really do.
Oh, sure.
Cause I don't feel that,
right.
and
my husband doesn't either, but he's like,
yeah,
many times like, we got to stop with the kids. We got to stop. Like, And we're learning.
For me, self-care to the outside world, you would look at that and like it looks very selfish, you know? I like to do my own thing. I like to be by myself. I like to be in the yard, cutting grass, doing this, doing that, you know? But when I spend time with my kids, see, my wife, when she spends time away from the kids, she'll feel refreshed, you know, even though she doesn't want to do it. You know, I have to pry her away from the kids. You don't have to pry me away from the kids. I'm like, tell me when and I'll go.
I was just talking to Whitney about this.
But when I spend time with my kids and I'm intentional with the time with my kids, I feel better than when I was doing whatever BS I was doing outside, you know? Right. So self-care for me, I do need, like, it is more being with my kids and spending intentional time with them because I don't normally get to do that,
right.
You know? So it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that just this year in general, from waking up and seeing that text message, and I even rolled over and was talking to my wife about it because I got the text like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Early, yeah.
You know, and I was...
You called me right away, too.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell, you know? And then everything just in my wife was like, oh my God, you know, she never even knew it, you know, she never met him. I never met him. We never met, you know, but like she felt connected to this process. And something interesting, probably, I guess it would be 4 months ago now. You know, we would all go play basketball at PGA National. And my mother-in-law lives in PGA National. And my wife was taking my kids over there to her mom's house for something or another. And we were all playing basketball. And she got there with my kids and she walked up with my kids. And I introduced her to Tristan. Okay. And she like gave him a hug and everything. Yeah. And it was a cool experience. And you know, I just look at Tristan now and like I got to go to his birthday party. I think I called you.
Yeah. Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah. And I was like,
and then I worried right away. I was like, he used on his birthday.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know. I was even thinking that when you didn't, but were you at a meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were at an Al-Anon meeting.
Yep.
But no, I was just calling to tell you I was going to his birthday. It was his 21st.
It was
20th.
Yeah.
20th. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But he's done phenomenal. I mean, it's just awesome to see where he's at, you know, what he's accomplished over the last year, you know.
He's done and everything you guys have said. Don't help him out. Don't give him money. He's, you know, I mean, Nick would help us like, you know, hey, my parents helped a little too, you know, your Nick downstairs.
Yeah.
Because I would, you know, he handles everything with rent and things like that. Or, you know, because being a mom and we would worry, like, how's he going to get from one place to the other? And, you know, but they have to go through that. For some reason,
yes.
Tristan had to have, hey, I've got $30, you know, him and door dashing. Like, we just wanted to, like, stop with the door dashing because that's our biggest pet peeve is you can go walk down and get a slice of pizza and then come back. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Just like, you want to, you know, and I would see it come out of his account. And I'm like, oh, he's low. I'm going to put money. And my husband would be like, stop. And Nicole would be like, stop. Like, don't do that. And and the Al-Anon groups, you know, just, you got to step back. And you guys have said detach or just let your center handle things for a while. Like, just kind of take a back seat. It's really, really difficult, but it worked. So
stay as uninvolved as humanly possible until we tell you otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah. I tell that to every parent that I talk to. And a lot of them will take the advice and some don't. And man, the ones that don't, it's like, oh God.
Yeah. Our therapists get really frustrated where so many times loved ones' parents will derail the treatment process. The client will be on the right path.
Yeah.
Par for the course challenges, and mom and dad will rush in there and do something and just completely rob them of the opportunity to rise to the occasion on their own.
Right.
You know, it's I hate using the word, but it's selfish. It's almost as if mom and dad want the credit in a way.
Well, for a long time I felt he did all this under my watch. He did it under my roof. So it's my fault. I missed something. What did we do wrong? Overcompensating. He's a product of a divorced family. Maybe there's something there, but, we look at it now that we're thankful for, it's weird saying, but we're thankful for his overdose because it opened up all of our eyes. Our other children were closer. We all, look out for each other. And I realized the things I was missing and they realized because they were, it just tore us all apart. But
thank you for saying that. That was powerful. We're thankful for his overdose. For a parent to say that, think about the depth and weight of that statement. Because, and I talk about that with our clients all the time, like whether it's the family or the addict. I usually refer to the addict ourselves. Like I'm like, thank God I crossed that line where I had to step back and reevaluate everything. Had certain events not happened, I wouldn't have made the changes. They say the pain is the key to spiritual growth, and I needed some pain. So don't rob your loved one of the pain that they might need. It might be really hard as a parent to watch.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like Bridgette keeps saying, it worked.
Yeah. It did.
Well, you believe it's been an hour?
No.
It's crazy. This flew by. See, it wasn't too bad, right?
No.
Pretty painless?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, any final thoughts?
No, I want to thank you for coming on and also for the opportunity to watch Tristan change into a man.
Yeah.
Like something magical happened with him.
Yep.
And I hope he keeps it. I really
hope
do.
so too. Seems like it.
Yeah, he's crushing it.
Yeah, he's doing good.
And he crushes it on the basketball court. Man, he's good.
Yeah, he loves it. It's his favorite. Well, football I think was his favorite, but
yeah,
he loves basketball. Anytime I feel like he's doing too much, because now I'm worried. Okay, you're in treatment or you're in recovery. You work it now because now he works in recovery at a center, and I'm like, what's your free time? Have you played basketball? Have you done something just for yourself? And he's like, Mom, I love H&Is. Like he loves doing them. So he does those. And
H&I stands for hospitals and institutions where Tristan brings meetings into detoxes, hospitals, jails, stuff along those lines where the people can't get out. I just wanted to explain that for the listeners. So he's doing service work, really.
Yep.
This is somebody that 6-7 months ago didn't want nothing to do with sobriety.
Well,
so
I want to say this. This just came to mind. And Bridgette mentioned this. Like, he called her at 4 to 5 months saying, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm going to be dead honest. We were at the 4-month mark with him. And as a team, we literally talked about him on our Monday meeting that we do. And we're like, we don't know what else to do with him. He doesn't want to do anything. And we took the same approach that we asked you all to take. And we told Tristan, hey, dude, we've done our part. You do what you got to do. This is on you from here. And a couple weeks later, that's when the change came in. So I just want to throw it out there. We're literally utilizing the same tactics, so to speak, strategy and principles that we are asking parents to use. We don't do something different. We literally, as a treatment team, because we can do it too. I could become codependent on one of our clients real quick. And we're here to check each other as a team. With all the experience that we have, we still are, they come to me as the yes guy. All the clients know, like, hey, if you want something, go ask Ben, And then Nick is there to shut him down.
Yeah.
Tom's there to tell him like it is. So
Yeah,
it works.
it does work.
well, thanks for coming on, Bridgette.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, it's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And if you want to ever speak with Bridgette, maybe Bridgette would be available to speak to you if you're a mom that, maybe has a son in your life that you can relate to in some degree. Send us an email, info@realrecoverytalk.com, and we'll make the connection happen. That is it. We will see y'all later.